Hey, what's going on, guys? Happy Sunday to you. Hope you guys are having a fantastic week. Man, it has been a run and gun weekend. I don't know about you, Ryan. How
Man,
you
it
been?
has been nonstop.
Yeah,
This is my relaxing point right now.
nice.
Oh, finally sitting in a chair.
I get it,
It's
man. I get it, dude. I'm literally like, I logged into StreamYard, 5 minutes ago?
mm-hmm. Yep.
Like we have been booking it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll share with you a little bit about what has been happening in my weekend. And um, hope you guys are enjoying the week. I see we got Chris in the chat, Ronster TV. What is going on, guys? Glad y'all could hang out with us tonight. Sorry I didn't get a chance to kind of promote this earlier. We still do this every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Eastern time, 4 p.m. Pacific. And so hopefully you guys are getting used to our regular routine. I think we've only missed one. Yeah, I think it was one
I
weekend
think
that
we've
I
only
was
missed one.
gone.
Hey,
Yeah.
K-Man.
Okay, man, what's happening, brother?
Oh,
So super cool, man. But like I said, lots been going on my end.
so what you been up
And
to?
well,
Why you been so busy?
I'll let you share first. I got some fun, exciting news. I'm gonna let a few people join here as they get the word.
Oh, I see. So you
Yeah,
want your news trumps my news.
I
I
want
get
it.
it.
I
Not
do.
that I have any news. I don't have any news.
I want it to trump you, man.
I don't really have any news. My weekend's just been nothing but soccer and sports and all kinds of stuff. The exciting stuff for anybody that doesn't know, and I think Chris knows about this. So JBL had like a once in a decade sale price mistake. I don't know what it was,
Yeah, I heard
but
about that.
you could buy virtually any JBL gear for 75% off.
That's crazy.
It
That is a
was
youth man deal right there.
it was a youth man run. Like it was, you felt like you were stealing stuff. So I ended up getting a bunch of SRX and VRX speakers. So for anybody that doesn't know, JBL and really QSC are the big time players in DJ and concert equipment. And there may be some other ones, but they're like when you're at a concert and you see those big arrays of speakers, those curved arrays hanging from the ceiling. Those are usually JBL VRX line arrays with flying subs sitting underneath them. So those were on sale. Those were part of it, right? So I didn't get the line arrays, but I got their SRX 812s and 815s. And it was, I got those, and then I got VRX flying subs, so they're the subs that you can put in the ceiling.
Yeah,
Or flying from the ceiling. They're 18-inch subs.
Yeah.
And then I got some poles, and I got VRX studio monitors.
Cool.
So I spent a decent amount of money. Dude, some of the guys I know spent 80 grand. $80,000.
All right. Do you think they're gonna flip them?
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe. Okay. Because I'm thinking that would honestly, as a business person, heck yeah, that would be killer.
I mean, you're buying below cost. I don't know where this thing came from. I don't know why it was allowed to go on for as long as it did. It was going on for like a week and a half.
Yeah.
I don't know what was going on.
And I kind of heard you had to kind of get creative with the browser. And
you did. So what ended up happening is you had to, I don't know how, Jonathan's the one that told me about it.
Yeah.
And you had to load stuff into your cart. And it was really Firefox was the primary one to work with.
Yeah.
You loaded stuff in your cart. Then you copied the cart URL. You killed the browser, reloaded the browser, pasted the cart URL in, and went to the website, and everything was magically 75% off. I don't know how. I don't know why, but it's legit because my stuff is starting to arrive. Like I've got tracking numbers.
Nice.
Guys that I know have gotten all of this stuff. The $80,000 guy got a call from a shipping company and said, "Hey, we got to send a whole semi." Like he's got a whole
holy crap,
whole
$80,000. That's awesome though.
Yeah, it is. So
I'm okay with that stuff, man. I mean,
I don't know. I mean,
because the reality, if it wasn't legit, or if Harman said, if they backed out on it, then okay, they did, but they allowed it and they're cool with it. So, man,
I did get one deal canceled. So I tried to buy a portable speaker for my wife, and this was at the tail end of the deal because she said eventually she's like, "Oh, well, maybe I should buy something." And she was giving me crap initially for wanting to get stuff.
Yeah.
Why are you always buying stuff? Why are you always doing this? Well, the SRX and the VRX I'm going to bring to M-Wave. So I think it's going to be really cool to be able to put that stuff directly against the home theater stuff. Should be
Dude.
very interesting to see some ultra high end pro stuff go up against home theater.
Yeah.
So she, I think, finally came to terms with maybe I can get some stuff for myself.
Nice.
And she wanted a party speaker, and they canceled it twice.
Oh,
so I don't know why. Maybe it'll ship. Okay. I haven't gotten a shipping notification. Yeah. Everything else is shipped. Should be arriving. Some of my stuff has already arrived, but everything else should arrive this week.
So did you pop it up on the screen?
I can. Yeah,
let's take a look at it. What'd you get?
How
do these new toys, man?
How do I bring this up?
Just hit the bottom one.
I'm trying.
Add to stream. There we go.
There it goes.
You gotta have the power, baby.
I guess so. I don't have the power. So these are the SRXs. The SRX are like JBL's creme de la creme. SRX and VRX. SRX are what you see a lot of times for DJs in clubs. Yeah. They get absurdly loud. They're very efficient. They're just an awesome speaker, and they've been around forever. So the other ones that I got were these VRX. I think they were the 918s. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was these. Yeah. So these subs, the VRX 918Ps, it's their flying subs, and they don't have to fly. Okay. So if they're not flying, means they're mounted to the ceiling, like they're mounted in the rafters, and that's where they go. The other way to mount these is JBL sells poles that go in the top of the sub, and then the mid and tweeter, the 812, the other unit, sit on top of this, on top of the pole, and this is the base of the pole.
Sure.
Right. So
like perfect for DJs and
absolutely. Sitting outside and pissing neighbors off on the other side of the neighborhood. You know, that's how we're gonna see how it ends up going. But I'm really excited about it.
Yeah. So you're gonna bring these to M-Wave?
They will be at M-Wave. It's gonna be really cool to be able to see these directly compared against the other stuff, because people are always like, oh, well, studio monitor speakers, PA speakers, how do they compare against home theater? Sure. Well, they're going to be there, right? Yeah, you're going to be able to put some of the best PA speakers in the world up against some of the best speakers in the world.
Very cool.
So it should be a lot of fun.
I've had a lot of guys on my channel ask that. They're like, hey, I've got this pro audio subwoofer. Will that work great for home theater? Typically, those types of speakers are meant for kind of the, I don't know if you call it mid bass, but basically it's designed typically for music. So it's not going to dig super low.
Designed for volume.
Slam is huge.
Like SPL, and they don't dig as low as like your JTR 4000 ULF or something. They may get down to 30 or 40 hertz.
I was thinking.
Probably pretty easily, but that chest slam and that thump, you're going to get that in space.
That 50 hertz, it's pretty powerful. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I actually had, let me see if I can share my screen. So when I was a student pastor, we had a really small setup. It was a DIY and it sounded like garbage. And I went on Craigslist one day and this guy had two of these. So these were the SRX. I think they were the 835. This looks pretty similar. It may not be the exact, but it was a three-way speaker.
Mm-hmm.
Horn, mid-range horn, and then it had a big 18-inch driver here.
Mm-hmm.
And then I bought two of those, and then he had two of the SRX dual 18s.
Jeez.
So, this isn't a youth room. Well,
oh my God.
Okay, so let me take it back. The youth room was our previous sanctuary before they renovated and made like a 2,000-seat auditorium. So the youth ministry got the old sanctuary, which holds probably at that time, it probably held like a couple hundred people, you know? Mm-hmm. So we had like 50 kids on a Wednesday night, but we had these things. So we had 4 18s in the subs, and then we had 2 18s in the main. So needless to say, Youth Man hooked up his youth group, man. It was pretty awesome.
Man.
So JBL makes some great speakers.
Yeah, they do.
Sure. So that's super cool. Yeah, I did hear about that sale, and a lot of guys were taking advantage of that. And so if you happen to get access to that and you scored a Youth Man deal, man, that's awesome, man.
I want to hear what you got. If anybody here in chat got anything, let me know what you got.
Yeah,
I'm always
for sure.
interested to hear, because there were guys that were getting the 70J1C beamformers. They were getting that. There were some guys getting the 590s, JBL's home theater horns. Yeah. People were just taking advantage of all kinds of. The guy that did $80,000 worth of kit did a lot of the microphones that churches really go after. So I think he was focusing on reselling to churches.
Yeah, that's cool though.
What he was going to do. I can't fault him for it. So What
Nothing wrong
about
with
your
that.
news? What you waited until after
Yeah,
me,
yeah.
right? What's your deal?
So I say we, but it's really not we. So we found out not too long ago, a couple months ago, that my son and my daughter-in-law are having a baby. So Youth Man's going to be a papa. And today they had their reveal. And so the younger crowd, the 20s, that group, 30s, um, they do things way different. I mean, of course, when Jessica and I got married 25 years ago, we didn't have a gender reveal. Our gender reveal was, hey, we're having a boy. Hey, we're having a girl. But now they do a big old party and they bring food. And we had about 40 people over here. So it was a pretty good crowd. And so their theme was Star Wars. So it was pretty cool. They had, Jedi dip, and everything had a name to it.
What is a Jedi dip?
It's like, I mean, it's just like nacho dip,
Oh,
but they
okay.
had a little tag in front of it, said like Jedi dip. And
Oh,
so
would have
everything
been really
had,
funny if they had Anakin burning alive in the dip, and then Obi-Wan was, "I have the high ground."
so they had all the food was decorated. I don't think I've got a picture of it. But anyway, we had a friend of ours that she made these little stormtroopers. So it had a marshmallow, and
Oh, that's cool.
it looked awesome. She made these little cupcakes that looked like Yoda, baby Yoda.
Oh,
So it was really cool. And so we go out in the back afterward, and they're doing some games. And the last thing, of course, is a gender reveal. So of course it's Star Wars themes. So they had a girl and a guy doing lightsabers. Well, the funny part is they started going at it, and I've got a pretty nice system outside. So I crank up the Star Wars, one of the tracks they told me to play, and it was kind of a battle kind of scene. And so that's cranking out there, and they're swinging, boom, 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 boom. And one of the lightsabers breaks in half. It's just cheap plastic. And so he's like, hang on, I'll be right back. And so he runs off stage, grabs another one, comes back. He swings a couple times, hits hers breaks. She runs off, gets another one. So they go at it. And he goes to swing like overhanded. And she does this number. Boom. And so she sticks out her hand. And so she's got him she's using the force on him. And he's like, it was just pretty funny, man. But anyway, so he ends up stabbing her. She dies. And of course, that means that we're having a boy. So, but that's what they do nowadays, man. So,
well, that's better than lighting entire force on fire.
yeah, we don't do that. We don't do that. Hey, RJ, thanks, brother, man. Appreciate it. Tim, thanks so much for the congratulations. We're super pumped, man. This is just a new season of my life. Like Ryan's got some little kids, man. So he's in that kind of season. And so we've seen our kids grow up from the babies. We got 4 children. My oldest now, Jacob, he is 23. Rachel's 21. Naomi Grace is 18. And Rebecca's just about to turn 16.
Mm-hmm.
So ours are kind of older. We've got 2, well, let's see, technically, really one's only out of the house. 2 of the girls, they were at Gainesville, University of Gainesville. They've got an apartment up there, but they're home for the summer. Naomi Grace will go back up there. Rachel just graduated, so she's going to live with us for about a year, and then they'll probably get married. Her and her boyfriend, they've been dating for like 7 years. So they're kind of waiting on him. Thanks, man. Grandpa, nah, we're not doing the grandpa. We're doing Papa. We're going to try to have it cool. I feel like Grandpa feels so old, man. But I was so pumped, man. I really am. It's one of those things where, like I said, it's a new stage of my life. And just Paul Michael, I love it, dude. Appreciate it, Johnny. But if you've got grandkids, man, I hear that it's the best time because you get to get the kids and hang out with them, spoil them, feed them.
It's only the positives.
Play with them. Yeah. And if they start being a brat, you just pick up the phone or you just hop them in the car and take them back home and drop their butts off. So, so we're really excited about that. Hey, man, appreciate it, Keith. But yeah, so we're pumped. So that's my news. So we're super glad about that.
That's bigger news than mine.
Yeah, man. So before we get into the topic, Ryan mentioned at the beginning of the show that he mentioned he's going to be bringing his speakers that he just got from JBL to M-Wave. If you haven't heard about M-Wave, Ryan and I are putting on an event in technically it's Lawrence
It's
City,
close enough.
Lawrence,
It's just
Kansas.
Lawrence.
So Lawrence, Kansas, July
Mhm.
22nd through the 24th. It's going to be super, super fun. We've got a bunch of different brands. Continually, he and I are still reaching out to brands and say, hey, look, do you want to be a part of it? We'd love to have your brand.
Well, the big
Love to have you
announcement.
come.
I
Go
don't think
ahead.
we've even announced this one yet. No, this one's on you. You've been waiting to do this one. But the big announcement is, well, I guess I can do it.
Yeah, do it, man.
Sony is
Yeah.
officially coming. So
Yeah.
Sony just announced or just let us know that they are officially coming to M-Wave. So
Super cool, man.
that means that all of the new projectors to the 5000, 6000, 7000,
Yeah.
along with the OG 5000, so they're $50,000
Yeah.
like 5,000 lumen projector, and
Sure.
then the GTZ 380, which is their $100,000 projector, are all going to be there. And I actually just talked to Andrew, who's my main contact at Sony. He actually told me that they're also going to bring their TVs.
Okay.
So
I know you had mentioned that they were hoping to do that.
he confirmed it. So at the very least, the QD OLED will be there, and the OLEDs will be there.
Cool.
I don't know about the LEDs, but at the very least, those will be there.
Yeah.
So it keeps getting bigger. It keeps
Yeah.
getting bigger. So if you guys are on the fence about going,
Dude, sign up, man.
there's
It's
so
gonna be a
much
blast.
stuff that's going to be there,
Yeah.
and it's going to be done in a way unlike any other expo or any other show, because it's when we do these comparisons, you're going to have no idea which one's which. So it's none of the bias is going to be there, none of the subjectivity. You're just going to look at something and actually be able to decide without knowing what it is. Do I like this? And what about this do I like? And I think it's going to be really revealing for people on their home theater journeys to be able to figure out what they actually value over something else. So it's going to be
Are we going
awesome.
to try to be able to do that with the TVs as well?
We can try. I think
I
the
didn't know if
comparison,
that was part of your plan.
We really only have Sony at this point. I got to talk to FOMO and see. Maybe
I didn't know
we
if
could get LG.
I didn't know if they were going to bring like say an OLED and LED or again, I don't follow TV, so I don't know even what options that Sony would even have if they just kind of have their own proprietary kind of stuff and maybe they don't have a variety of that. So it may not even
So
be
they've
a
got
thing.
like their their LED, their OLED. They have different versions inside of those with different processing power, different brightness, and they have the QD OLED. They've got a bunch of different variants, but I don't know.
It might be harder to kind of set that up and hide
Well,
it.
you're going to be able to look at something, and you're going to immediately know when you've got an LED next to an OLED, like that's the OLED.
Yeah,
and it could be interesting to be able to do that and say, is the OLED worth it? Like, I don't know how many places have been able to put those side by side. FOMO's probably done it quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I can talk to FOMO about trying to get some LG stuff out there.
Okay.
We are trying to work on getting some ultra short throws there. So that is going to be something else that's could be valuable to a lot of you guys in the home theater scene.
Yeah.
For purchasing decisions and so on and so forth. So it's just it's steadily getting bigger. I mean, I didn't know
bottom
that
line,
these SRX were going to be there.
Yeah, bottom line, we're just our goal. I think at the end of the day, man, I want to hang out with you guys. I want to spend some time getting to know you. I want to play with some cool gear. I want to see some new technology. I want to do some comparisons. We're going to eat some barbecue together. It's just going to be a blast, man. I really, really think it's going to be. Leon has a great question. M-Wave sounds exciting, but I won't be able to make it. Will there be an online component? That's a great question. That's something Ryan and I have definitely considered talking about. Honestly, it's just trying to figure out how best to implement that. Are we going to have certain times that maybe I'm doing a live stream and kind of going around, kind of allowing you to be a part of the event for, an hour, on say Friday morning, and then in the afternoon, we'll do another hour, something like that. We are going to have some special guests there that are going to be doing seminars. So I would love to be able to provide that as part of that access to it. And if we did the online component, it'd be super affordable for you guys so that you could join us. And even if you couldn't make each one of the days, you'd still be able to log into the website, get access to that. We'd have it on replay. So even if you couldn't be there live, you'd still have access to those seminars. So that's kind of the thought behind it. But again, it's just, working out those pieces. I've been crazy busy this week, but I'm hoping that this week I can kind of set aside some time in my schedule to really kind of think through that and what does that look like. Because I know Ryan's going to be super busy with a lot of the shootout, or not shootout, whatever you want to call it, comparisons. And it's one of those things where I'm trying to figure out, like, okay, what time will I have available, to be able to do some of those things. And so a lot of this we're figuring out, man. I'm so pumped about it. I mean, this is like one of the most exciting things I think I've ever done. And I think this could be absolutely huge for not even just the home theater community, because some of the stuff you're going to be able to listen to in 2-channel. So if you love 2-channel music, we're going to have some really cool speakers for you. If you're a video file, we've got some stuff for you through projectors, through laser projectors, through QLED or OLED or whatever format that Sony has to offer. So, but definitely, Leon, here's what I encourage you guys to do. If you're at all interested in M-Wave, whether it's physical or online, go to the website. Let me put this up here. Sorry, right here. Go to the website, MidwestAVExperience.com. Go to newsletter and at least just subscribe to the newsletter, because that's where I send out information first and foremost. So as soon as we have an online component, I'll send out an email blast to everybody and say, hey guys, we're excited to announce you can now register for the online portion. Here's a link to it. And then you'll get first kind of notice on that.
And I think it's going to happen. It's just trying to figure out what capacity we're going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
And it's Youthman or Michael and I, this is our first foray into this. So it's just kind of trying to figure out how we want to do it. That's really what this comes down to.
Yeah. So your girlfriend calls it, Chris says, my girlfriend calls it a conference. Man, we could call it that too, man. It's a get together, man. To me, it's a get together of enthusiasts, audiophiles, video files, casual. If you're just casual home theater enthusiast, that's cool too. I don't think this is really geared towards a specific person.
I would say it's a nerd fest geared towards enthusiasts. But the cool thing about the home theater crew and the home theater group is I found it very welcoming.
Yeah.
There's not 100%. A lot of snobbery or rejectionism or any of that stuff. It's, hey, doors open, come on in. Yeah. Let me show you all this stuff so you can spend ass tons of money and make everybody have a little bit of regret. I mean, what is home theater without having a little bit of regret?
That's right, man. That is right. So we hope you guys can join us. But like I said, head over to the website, MidwestAVExperience.com, July 22nd through the 24th. It's going to be a blast. We're going to have a good time. And
be a lot of fun.
Every year it's going to get better. I mean, the cool thing is, I told Ryan when we first started planning this, I'd rather have a very small group and let's figure this thing out, what works, what doesn't work, how we're going to distribute everybody, how we're going to integrate all those things, where we're going to have everything kind of set up. And let's kind of get a handle on that, registration, all that stuff. And then let's just slowly build this thing over time. And it may always be kind of this intimate kind of gathering. And I think that's super cool too.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, if we had 100 people there every single year, that's dope, man. Let's build some true friendships. Let's get to know each other. Let's grow
make people
together.
Fight with sabers over the tickets, 100
Dude,
only.
Let's do it, man. Oh man, but we're gonna have a blast. So I hope you guys can make it. Let's hit another couple questions and comments in the chat, and we will jump in to it. Little Wiki just picked up 2 PB16 Ultras.
Good score.
$1,100 each. Sweet. Those retail for about what, $2,400, I believe.
I'm gonna go look.
At one time they were 25, but I don't know where they're at price wise now. So I think you snagged a killer Youthman deal. That's phenomenal.
I think they're more than that. I think they're 29.
And they may have increased
29.
Like everybody else. Holy cow. So yeah, that's an incredible deal. And those are some awesome subwoofers. I rocked the PB16s for a couple years, loved them. They didn't dig down to single digits, but they got well below 20 hertz. I think you're going to get down to, depending on your room, you could get down to like 15 hertz, which is still phenomenal, man. That's really, really great. There is a ton of slam in those things. So you're really, really going to love them. The only thing I didn't really like, let me know if you got the piano black or if you got the wood grain finish. So I got the piano black when I bought them,
Man, it's a pain in the ass. To
and
keep
they
clean.
look cool at first, but then it was like, man, they're always dusty.
Mm-hmm.
And then the more you wipe them down with dust, the more you get these little swirl marks. So that was the only thing I didn't like, but they look super cool and they're beautiful, but they also reflect some light. So you may even want to put like a piece of velvet
Mm-hmm.
on the top of them. Maybe like when you're watching movies or something to keep that reflection down. But they're awesome, and you're gonna love those. That's a killer deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good condition, absolutely. Yeah, he says they both fully work. One's missing the original sound that ain't no big deal, and one had a couple scratches. Again, not a big deal when you're saving that much money. I'll handle some little scratches. They're fully functional. Congratulations, man. That's awesome. Let's see. See if there's anything extra. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, if you like these videos, if you enjoy the live stream, definitely let YouTube know. And one way you can do it, just real simple, hit the thumbs up. It kind of sends signals to them that, hey, people find value in these videos. They're enjoying them. Uh, and hopefully they'll push it out to more people that might be interested. Barbecue shootout, that'd be fun. Blind amplifier demo sounds very interesting. Ryan, do you know what brands we've got coming?
We've got a Sanders, Magtech. We've got Anthem, Marantz, Benchmark, QSC, Behringer. I don't know if there's any more. I can't do too many because then it just gets overblown.
Sure.
The interesting one that's going to be, I think, people are going to want to see is the benchmark against everything else, because it's can the pro amps. It always comes down to, right, is spending a ton of money on an amplifier worth it? And that's, I don't know. That's the question that I think is on everybody's mind. Will the pro amps, and very similar to the PA speakers in comparison to home theater stuff, can they keep up? Not necessarily. Okay, keep up isn't the right word, because they can't. They can't. They over output in SPL everything. The question is it clear enough, and do you run into distortion?
Gotcha.
I don't know. We're gonna find out.
Yeah, super cool, man. So Lil Wiki said he measured 95 dB at 17 hertz. You might be able to get more gain out of them than that too. I don't know. And he got the matte black. Cool. I think that's a whole lot better. It's easier to keep clean. We got some rocking the 15-inch Dayton's. Awesome. All right. So you don't think they're good though? All right. I haven't heard.
Probably needs to measure. You need to measure those to determine if they're good.
So here's the interesting thing, and we're going to kind of talk about that tonight. Like, how do you get tactile bass? We'll jump into that in just a second. So I'll hold off on that. A couple quick questions here, and we'll jump into it. Ryan, what was your determinant? That's a cool word for going with Martin Logan's for your theater setup over the high-end manufacturers like B&W.
Why did I do that? I've always had a fascination and love with Martin Logan and their electrostatics, and quite possibly because I'm a little weird and I like to do really weird things. Like Michael's been over here.
Yeah.
I did it partially because nobody else has done it.
Yeah.
And it creates a sound stage kind of unlike anything else. And I built the theater originally because my mindset was I didn't really care about any other seating position. And in my opinion, the Martin Logans with their directionality of 30 degrees for their dispersion, in that hot seat, there's nothing better. However, if you care about anybody else in that theater, it's not going to be as good as, say, like the JBL CBTs or the JTRs or anything like that because of the dispersion. It's a different animal. Sure. And I was going for a different thing. Plus the transients and stuff, because the film is able to move so fast. Is it subjective? Maybe, but I feel like they're clearer. Maybe
they're great. It's a great system. There's no doubt, man. It put a smile on my face. Put it that way. It's pretty awesome. So definitely, but it's a different sound, you know. And like Ryan will tell you, I mean, when you move off axis and you get over to the side, then you kind of lose that. They're very, focused in that center
focus
sweet
is
spot.
a good word. It's a very narcissistic theater is how I usually describe it.
All about
it's
me.
A very one or two person theater, and it was built originally for my wife and I, and that's really it.
Yeah.
So that's that's the direction of them. Plus, they're really cool looking. Johnny E asks, I know you said RTJ is going to be there at M-Wave, but are they going to bring the JTR speakers and subs too? So RTJ and JTR are actually very, very similar. The RTJ 410 is just the epitome of everything JTR has. So it's going to be the horn drivers with the 10-inch mid. God, 10-inch mids. What other speaker has 10-inch mids?
Yeah.
And then they've got 18-inch subs on the top and bottom. So if you have any inclination of maybe I want JTR, these are going to give you a very good indication of what
look at these things, guys.
JTR is going to sound like. They're
This is
8 feet tall.
This is what they're bringing. So there's an 18. So you look at those 4 in the middle. And when Jeff first sent me the prototype, I mean, he sent me like, I can't remember if it was like a wood cabinet or if it was like a drawing. But I was like, oh, that's cool. Are those like, 6.5s? He says, those are 10-inch.
They're 10s.
Holy crap.
It's
There's
huge.
4 10s. That horn is 23 inches wide, 23 inches tall. That's a massive horn. I mean, you're talking a 2-foot horn, and then you've got an 18 on the bottom, 18 on the top. And so this is definitely designed to work with like custom integration, but definitely it's something that you can use in a home theater easily. But man, that is, I keep referring to it as a tower of power.
It is.
That thing is just, oh man, I'm
they
excited.
come with 8,000 watts to drive 2 speakers.
Yeah, I think
that's crazy.
Phenomenal. It'll be fun.
That's crazy. It'll be really interesting. I had to inform my wife that they're going in my living room before the show when Jeff sends them out. So
she's like, "Oh crap."
I think she's just embraced the inevitable. She's gotten so used to
what's he up to?
Terrible things that it's just par for the course at this point.
That's awesome.
I think we need to jump into this topic.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and do it. So today, I know we switched gears real quick. I was driving home. I'm like, we had the gender reveal, and I'm like busting it back. I'm like, Ryan, I've got like 15 minutes to get home. And so I said, how about this topic? And he had already scheduled one. And he's like, I like your topic better. So here's what we're going to talk about. What is tactile bass and how do you obtain it? Because I think this is a great topic because a lot of people have, I've seen people comment on my YouTube channel and they'll say stuff like, I don't know why anybody would want, 18-inch drivers because, the bass in my room from my 10-inch or my 12-inch, it rattles whatever, my picture frames in the next room or whatever. So really, to me, what I think about when I talk about tactile bass is not just hearing bass, not just it shaking something in the other room, but how can I, as a person, feel that bass in my chest, in my pants legs, in my body when that bass hits, whether it's in music or whether it's during an explosion, whether it's a shotgun going off, anything like that, something that, maybe you're watching Jurassic Park and they're stomping, or in Ready Player One and Kong jumps off the tower and lands on the freeway. How do I feel that? And I think there's a lot of different ways that you can experience tactile bass. And so we're just going to kind of talk through that. So in the comments, let me know, number one, do you have tactile bass in your system or don't you? And then number two, if you do,
what do you mean? What are we defining as tactile bass? Like just feeling bass?
Yes. Yeah.
At all?
So I'm not necessarily talking about like super deep extension, because that's even a whole nother rabbit hole. But
it is.
But I think there's some value in really talking about what can you do as a consumer to get because to me, I mean, that's one of the most exciting parts about watching a movie is when something big happens and you feel it, because that draws you into that movie. There was I had a gentleman over here today. We had 50 people in my house, 50 people. And a gentleman had never been in my theater room. And so he came in, I was telling him all about it, gave him the tour. And he's like, man, I bet this thing's like, this is really nice, right? It's really loud. I'm like, yeah. He's like, is it as good as a theater room or a theater? And I said, I think so. And I'm like, you want to hear it? And he's like, well, yeah, that'd be cool. So we put in, I had Spider-Man No Way Home. And I went to the scene where Spider-Man and Doctor Strange are kind of having it out. And Doctor Strange is manipulating everything. They're on the train. And so there's a lot of tactile bass there. And at the end of the demo, he's like, whoa, man. He's like, your seats were shaking. And so he's thinking like there's something in there making the theater or the seats shake. I don't have butt kickers. I don't have tactile transducers, which we'll talk about those. I have 418s behind my screen, and I have 6 12-inch drivers.
Oh,
so that's where I'm getting tactile bass from.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the ways that you can get tactile bass is adding bigger drivers. So let's say, prime example, I started off a long time ago with a 10-inch Velodyne subwoofer. I did not get tactile bass from that. And there's a big reason, and it's called displacement.
Well, I think it's important to make sure that we say this, that in the subwoofer, really in the sound arena, there is a lot of, and this isn't a negative, guys. I don't mean this to come across as negative. There's a lot of ignorance, because what you don't know, you don't know, right?
Yeah.
So you may feel that your 10-inch Velodyne had tons of tactile bass, right? Because it is the epitome of what you've experienced so far.
Correct. That is
and
correct.
You may think that this is the end all be all, right? So you don't know, like I like to say, what you don't know. You don't know how far down that extension can actually go, and how much of an increase you can gain from tactile bass in the lower frequency extension as you get bigger drivers with bigger output and that can dig really deep. I just want to preface that, because I think it's really important in home theater in general it's perfectly fine. It actually saves you a lot of money, in my opinion. But
and if you're satisfied, absolutely. I'm just trying to take you down the thought of, okay, if you're lacking in tactile bass, what are some different ways? And you decide like what rabbit hole you want to go down, because all these can get pretty deep, but they all don't have to be expensive. So to me, one way is get bigger subwoofers. So when I went from a 10-inch to a 15-inch Velodyne, I'm like, oh, dang. I can tell you this. Once I went from a 10-inch to a 15, I have never owned anything. Well, I've never kept anything less than a 15-inch in my home theater. I bought a 12-inch THX Ultra 2 subwoofer from Klipsch. It was a Youth Man deal, paid like stupid, really low amount, literally a couple $100. And I'm like, I just want to try this thing. And honestly, it did not satisfy me at all. Once you kind of go to bigger subwoofers, it's a whole new like experience. And so I went to a single 15, and then I did exactly what Darth Warren says, and that's I got 2 subwoofers. So now I've got even more displacement in my room, and so I'm feeling it more. And then I got a little insane, and I went to 3 15-inch subwoofers, and then I went to 4 15-inch subwoofers. So yeah, that rabbit hole can get deep pretty quick. So one of those ways is to add multiple subwoofers to your room, and bigger subwoofers. So that's one way to do it. Ryan, maybe what's another way that they can get tactile bass in the room if they're not feeling the bass that they would like to feel?
Well, if most people already have this, but let's talk about Andrew Robinson dropping the 20. So I'll let you handle that one.
Okay, I hadn't seen it yet. So I'll hit that in just a second. Appreciate it, brother.
Right. So this is probably the easiest way to do it, because a lot of people have, when they buy bigger and badder subwoofers, and where did that comment go? Here it is. When they have bigger and badder subwoofers, or they buy new ones, they usually have a smaller one that those bigger ones are replacing. Yeah. So if you take those smaller ones and put them directly behind your seating position, and as long as that driver is within the diameter, so as wide as the driver is, that distance to your back, you are going to have some fantastic tactile bass. And Fred says, I'm going to try to put a JTR RS1 as a near field. I have an RS1 as a near field. You should do that. Yeah. It's turned down quite a bit. I actually thought in some show that I hadn't been watched, I'd never watched, I felt like I actually got shot. Like it hit me so hard, and I hadn't calibrated the system yet that I lost. It felt like I got hit in the chest. Like it was hard for me to get my wind back.
Yeah.
But it's totally worth it. And that's one of the cheapest ways to do it after you've upgraded, in my opinion, is instead of selling off one of those subs,
if it's
put
a
it as a near
sub.
field.
Yeah.
It doesn't. A
Really?
lot of
You
the
can even
guys,
go
like,
into the cheaper
look at
one?
Sheldon. Sheldon's taking
That's
those
true.
$30 JBLs and directly attaching them to
I
his
forgot about
seats.
that.
So
That is true.
they don't have to have tremendous output
True.
as long
That is
as the
true.
driver is close enough to you. You get tremendous
Yeah.
tactile feedback,
Yeah.
right? It doesn't have to be a ridiculous sub, though it output does help. Like you're
Yeah.
looking at Doug's 24
Yeah. That was a
within
monster. Oh
that
my
was
gosh.
God, that's
Uh,
crazy. But it
So
doesn't take
that
a lot.
so that's another great way that you can do it, Fred. So I appreciate you bringing that up. That
Well,
near
and
field
something
sub.
else I want to point out is that I saw somebody complaining about wife approval factor with shaking a lot. The
Mhm.
closer you can get your subs to you, especially if they're near field,
Yeah, turn
the
them down.
lower the SPL can go, and you're still
Yeah.
getting that tactile feel
Yeah.
and that low end shake. So
Yeah.
just something to
Absolutely.
consider.
Yep. Absolutely, Kev. So definitely something to consider. So if you've never experienced near field bass, even if you take what you have now and just put it, if you have the space, like I don't have the space in my theater room, my room's just not deep enough. I have no space behind
Excuses.
my, no, I don't. I mean, I have no space behind
Direct
my,
attached to the chairs.
dude, I don't even think I have that. I mean, literally, like I'm up against the wall. I mean, I've
Oh,
got the
all right.
seat, I got the seats as close to the wall as I can. And even then, when you recline the front seat, I'm
Fair
sorry,
enough.
the feet of the rear seats hits the back of the front seat. So it's
Fair
not
enough.
really comfortable. So I got a small room. Mine's 19 feet deep. My front cabinet
Yeah,
is
I
4
forget
feet.
how shallow your room
Yeah.
is.
I've got a 4 foot cabinet in the front. So I effectively have 15 feet of depth in my room
But
of
with
floor
that,
space.
there's other ways to do it,
Yeah.
right? So you
Yeah.
could go
Yeah.
like bass shakers
I've
or
looked at that.
Crosons.
All right, so let's talk about that. So that's another way that you can get. Actually, before we hit that, let's hit these couple here. So we got him, Andrew Robbins. Appreciate you stopping by, man. Andrew, love the super chat. Appreciate that. DSP and placement. Get 40 hertz right, and then start to deal with a 30 and 20 hertz. So he's totally correct. So one way isn't by spending any money; it's proper placement. I
Mm-hmm.
found in my own theater room that if I move my subwoofer a foot, 2 foot, I can drastically change like the amount of bass. And here's what I want you to do in your room. Play something that's kind of a pretty good solid beat, bass heavy kind of, maybe it's music, and just start walking slowly around your room. And you'll find that you can walk a foot or 2 foot and you'll go from bass that's, just really solid, and you take a few steps over and you're going to get like no bass, like it's gone. And then you take a few steps over and
Mm-hmm.
you may get kind of like overwhelming bass, you know? So
Oh yeah.
what you're experiencing there is you're going from like proper bass, then you're going to a null, which is no bass, and then you're going to a peak, which is like bloated bass. It's not
Mm-hmm.
good bass. And so proper placement, absolutely. And it gets more complicated the more subwoofers you have. If you got one subwoofer, it's easy. The easiest way to do one subwoofer probably is what they call the subwoofer crawl. So in essence, what you'll do, and it's kind of hard if you got those PB16s, because I had those at one time, and I'm like, how am I going to do the subwoofer crawl with this? It's going to break my chair. That subwoofer is 175 pounds. But the idea is to place your subwoofer, if it's small enough, in your main seating position. Okay.
I'm just trying
And
to imagine
and
4,000 ULFs in the
yeah, and
chair.
so you can't really do that. But if you can, I mean, technically, maybe you could move your seat out of the
But you're
way.
absolutely right.
So if you put the subwoofer there and crawl around your room, like literally get on your hands and knees, kind of crawl around your room and just kind of figure out, okay, where do I have good solid bass? And then take your subwoofer and put it in that location. That's a good start. That's where at least because basically you're just reverse engineering that, I don't know, the acoustics of that. And so when you get back to your seat, that subwoofer is going to have good bass. Now, what I don't like about that approach is that doesn't mean you're going to get good solid bass at every frequency. So that may have been like 50 hertz and it was doing good, but maybe at 30 hertz you got this big dip, and that's where Andrew was saying that DSP really helps. And so DSP is digital signal processing. Sometimes you can have that built into the subwoofer itself. So in the prime example, Remind me who had the PB16s?
Mm,
Not Darth Warren.
um,
Anyway, you look for that. So the gentleman that just got the two PB16s, that has an awesome built-in app. Okay.
DSP. Yep.
Yeah. So you can go into the app. Now it's limited, but there is some capability there. So if you have a calibration mic, like a mini DSP
Little
UMic
wiki.
1. So let me pull this up. I'm going to show you. I think even on Amazon, it's super, super cheap. UMic 1. Boom. Okay. I say super cheap. It's not. They've gone up. Let's do this.
Amazons are more expensive than actually buying directly through Mini DSP.
Gotcha. Let me go to their website then.
Mini DSP, they just take longer, but they're $75.
Okay. Way
You have to
cheaper.
pay
It's
for
like
shipping.
130
Yeah.
on Amazon. It used to be pretty much the same price, but let me just pull this up because I want you to see what it looks like. Oh my goodness. What is this thing doing?
Aaron, that's an excellent point about nulls. That you're going to run into nulls and you can't really correct them. So the only fix, as you say, is placement and adding subwoofers, and that's absolutely right.
So here's the,
sometimes you run into situations that you're not going to be able to overcome with your current gear, and you just have to move on from that and realize that you're going to have to make adjustments to your setup in order to get around that. Mini DSP and EQ isn't an end-all, be-all solution. So
correct.
that's a really
it can help.
solid point to bring up.
So here's the first thing that, and this kind of goes with how do you get better bass in your room? Yes, you can move your subwoofer around, but one thing that I always recommend is get a mini DSP. I fought against this for a long time. I'm thinking, why do I want to buy a microphone that's only going to show me what's wrong with my room, but it doesn't allow me to fix anything in my room? So in the case, if you've got the PB16s, if you buy the UMic 1, there's other microphones out there, but this is probably the most common one. $80. Get the UMic 1, learn how to use REW. REW is Room EQ Wizard. It's free. So you download it, you plug in your microphone, you plug in, like I always use a HDMI cable to my my receiver to get the sound back and forth. And basically this allows you to see physically on a graph what frequencies are good. You know, is it kind of flat, or is there a peak, or is there a null, which is a dip that you're lacking in bass? So when you see that, as you move a single subwoofer around your room, you'll physically be able to see on a graph, okay, where does it get the flattest response? You know, you want ideally it to be pretty flat. You don't want massive peaks. You don't want massive dips. You want it pretty flat. And that's called a flat frequency response. And then with that DSP, let's say you've got a bump, you know, pretty significant bump in, let's say around 40 hertz. Well, if you have the PB16s in the app, and I've even got a great tutorial on the app on how you can do that, but you can add 3 parametric EQ settings. And so you could pull that, 40 hertz, you could pull that 40 hertz down to flatten it. What's really difficult though, is if you have a null, a lack of bass, it's not like you can go in there and push that up because the information just physically isn't there. So you can't like manufacture that. The only other way is either through like acoustic treatment or moving that sub to a different place that you get more better response. So you can do that through built-in DSP if your subwoofer has it, or you can get something like a mini DSP. And I recommend the mini DSP, like a 2x4 HD. And so that's a little expensive. I think it's about $250. Let me pull it up here.
Now, something else that's started to hit the market is processors, and they're really only in the expensive ones now. I don't know if Mono Prices has it, but there are processors like my Storm allows you to import REW corrections, REW corrections into the processor. So they're making it easier in order to fix these EQ problems, which is, it's very cool. The flexibility is amazing.
That's weird. I don't even see it on their website anymore. Oh, here we go. I had to put a space in it. Yeah, I didn't find it. Okay, there we go. Yeah, it's $225.
They even have one with Dirac in it now.
Yeah. So this is another area with DSP that you can get more tactile bass, because maybe part of the problem is, especially if you've got two subwoofers or three subwoofers, having a combination of subwoofers is going to interact with each other. The bass from one subwoofer is going to be bouncing off of walls, and it's going to collide with the bass from another subwoofer. Sometimes what that does is it causes the two hit like this. I don't know if you can, I don't know what you're seeing. Let me see if
I
can
can
go back
see
to
you.
stream. There we go. So two waves are coming like this, and sometimes when they collide, they make this big peak like this. Okay. Sometimes waves hit and they cancel each other out. And you get this big dip like this. And so with the mini DSP, one thing that's awesome now, I'm not going to say it's super easy. It's going to be a learning curve, but there's some great resources out there. I know my buddy Brad from Home Theater Gamer has a great tutorial. Very easy. I think it's like a 5-part series on how to set up and calibrate multiple subwoofers with the mini DSP 2x4 HD. Home Theater Gurus has another great video. His is about an hour and a half long, though. It's just one long video. But both of those are great resources, and there's some other great content creators out there that can walk you through that. But in essence, you come out of your subwoofer, out on your receiver, AVR, or your processor. You go into, can you see my cursor?
Yep.
Okay. So you go into, say, for instance, this right here. This is N1. And so you're only going to use one of those channels, because basically, even if you have two subwoofers, still just use that one subwoofer input. And then what you do is however many subwoofers you have come out of this to 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. So in my case, I have two subwoofers, even though there's 4 drivers. It's technically 2 subwoofers. So I come out of my processor into the mini DSP, and then out of this output 1 to 1 subwoofer, and out of that to my second subwoofer. And then what you do is within the mini DSP software, you can do some really cool things like time align, which is where you're basically adjusting some parameters within that DSP, the digital signal processor, so that the bass hits you in your listening position at the same time. And that's where you're going to get the best bass response.
Yep.
So part of the issue you may not need bigger subs. You may not need more subs. What you may need is to learn how to calibrate and dial what you have in. And that's where DSP definitely can help. So I love the mini DSP 2x4 HD. It's phenomenal. Again, it's a learning curve. Yes, it's an expense. But here's the thing. If you've got nice subwoofers and you're not getting the bass that you want, it's probably not a subwoofer issue. It's probably an acoustic issue.
Mm-hmm.
How those subwoofers are interacting in your room. And so you might be able to fix that with the mini DSP, time aligning them, EQing them,
Moving them,
and adjusting their phase. So there's a bunch of different things you can do within the mini DSP that could help you with that. So
it's not an end-all be-all solution, though.
No.
There are things that you're not going to be able to fix.
100%.
Andrew Robinson brings up one of the keys to tactile or impactful bass is making sure it doesn't overwhelm the mid-range or mid-bass, and that's very true.
Yep.
People go down the heavy in the pursuit of these frequencies that get you that chest slam from your snare drums and stuff, and it can get to the point that it's overwhelming. And that's why, in my opinion, near field is so important, because you can get those without overwhelming that frequency range. You don't have to pressurize the entire room from your subwoofer's position. Think of it like a car, right? In your car, your subs are usually in the back, but the cabin of the car is so small, pressurization happens very easily. Whereas in a home theater, it's a much bigger cavity, right? So the size of the sub, the SPL that is required, it's much greater. And to be able to get that pressurization, which you need in order to get that chest slam, it takes a lot more. So being able to cheat the system a little bit, it's not really cheating, but making it easier by using a near field, or if you're really chasing just the shake, using Crosons or bass shakers or butt kickers or something like that are great alternatives. Plus, if you've got little ones, wife approval factor issues that are making it so that, hey, turn it down, so on and so forth, they allow you to do all of this at much, much lower LSPL levels.
Yeah.
It's just much, much easier.
Yeah, Aaron brings up a good point. Good to see you here, man. Aaron's got an incredible channel as well. He does a lot more in measurements than I do, and he understands this stuff a lot better. But he's been telling us on our other podcast with the Daily Hi-Fi that DSP's been around big time in the car audio for a long, long time.
Yep.
And it's like we're slow to implement this, or maybe people in the home theater and two channel are hesitant to use DSP. But again, it's not an end all be all, but it really can change and drastically impact like the experience that you have in your room. And so definitely, that might be something that you want to consider. Bill says that he loves his mini DSP 2x4 HD, started his rabbit hole journey along with Youth Man's videos, man. So appreciate that. So cool stuff, man. So we talked about adding a bigger sub or bigger subs. One thing is to add, I don't know if we kind of talked about this, adding multiple subs to your room. Now, again, this gets more complicated because you start adding more subs and they can start canceling each other out and maybe even create more problems than you had with a single sub. But that's why getting a mini like a UMic 1, learning RAW so you can physically see what's going on in your room. I really believe, and I've always said this, I think you're literally just guessing if you have more than one subwoofer, where to put those subwoofers in your room. And here's what the majority of people do, and I'm guilty of it too, because I have limited floor space. And so my thought is
Most of us do.
I need to put this behind my screen, so I'm limited where I can put these monster 418s. And but if you're just kind of saying, okay, well, I'm going to put this one up here because it looks fine, or that's the spot that I have for it, and I've got room back here to put this other one, you're just kind of guessing unless you can physically see visually like what's going on in your rooms. I always highly recommend getting some kind of measurement tools. Taking basic measurements is pretty simple. And like I said, there's some really easy tutorials. I've even got a few on my channel where I kind of walk you through, like, how do you hook this up? And how do you take a measurement to just check frequency response? But that's definitely one thing. But by adding multiple subwoofers, a lot of times it can give you smoother bass response throughout multiple seating. Now, if you're only just trying to figure out, like kind of like Ryan, it's just the narcissistic setup where it's just about you in that primary listening position, that's easier to do. But if you've got a couch and you've got 3 spots on a couch, a center, a left, and a right, and you're trying to get good bass for all 3 of those seats, it's going to be really hard to do that with one subwoofer, I promise you. So if you have multiple subwoofers, it'll help a lot of times smooth that out. So that's another way that you can kind of get more tactile bass. Sometimes by adding multiple subwoofers, it's going to smooth out the bass response so that when you're, getting those different frequencies, the 30 hertz, the 20 hertz, the 40 hertz, the 50 hertz, that's all smooth and flat. So that's where you're going to start feeling that impact more because you've got that better bass response.
Aaron just continues to drop the knowledge bomb.
Yeah, drop it, man.
Subs, 60 to 70 hertz. At those frequencies, you don't need the driver size and the SPL output levels that you need to chase the really low frequencies like 10 hertz. I mean, at that point, you need tremendous output. But at 60 to 70 hertz, man, you can get by with 12-inch, 10-inch subs are going to be able to do that without too much of a problem. Now, if you're really chasing 110, 120, 130 dB, you may start running into issues, but then you're adding more subs, getting a 3BL increase every time, and you're going to be able to get there eventually depending on what the actual SPL capabilities of that particular driver are.
This is interesting. So Aaron and Andrew have mentioned like bandpass, and so I really haven't even looked at bandpass except for like car audio. We'd have your fifth order bandpass, and so man, I don't really know if I've heard anybody using bandpass in a home theater setup or even a home. So that's pretty interesting. I didn't know they still did that. Have you seen anybody in the Kansas City area use a bandpass in a home theater or 2-channel? I know, what was it?
Not that I'm aware of.
What was it, Doug, that had the no, not Doug. Yeah, it was Doug. Doug's got those Gaylor horns
up
in
the ceiling.
Oh my gosh. Or otter horns. I think it's otter horns in the ceiling. That thing's a beast, man. Holy cow. How he got those 18s up in his attic, I will never know, man. So definitely there's a lot of ways. So we can do it with adding bigger subwoofers.
Mm-hmm.
You can do near field subwoofers, which is where
Mhm.
you're taking a subwoofer, placing it pretty close to the rear of your seat. And what I was told is if, let's say, the subwoofer is 21 inches, you need to make sure it's within 21 inches of your back or something like that. If it's 18, same thing, 18, 15, 15. So as you can see, the smaller the driver, the closer it has to be to your listening position. But if you can get it really close, that's a great way to do that. So we can do it bigger drivers, multiple drivers, DSP, getting some kind of digital signal processing, whether it's
Mhm.
in your subwoofer or in like a mini DSP 2x4 HD, something like that. We can do.
We haven't talked
Um,
about actual tactile yet.
oh yeah, so let's talk about that. So one thing that I really love about doing home theater tours is I get the extreme privilege of hearing a ton of different systems, and people do it differently. Some I've been to just recently, I went to a guy's house. He had a massive theater room. He had a 206-inch diagonal screen. He has 13 theater seats, 3 rows or 4 rows. I think it was 3 rows. Beautiful theater room, incredible. He's got 4 24-inch DIY. I think they were stereo integrity subwoofers.
Mhm.
Absolute bonkers. Felt like we had what we're going to talk about now, which is tactile transducers. Maybe you don't have the room or the space or the Wi-Fi acceptance factor of putting 424s in your home. One thing that you can do is add what they call tactile transducers. I'm going to pull up a couple of ideas for you. One is probably the most popular, and that's called butt kickers. Butt kickers. Ryan, you have butt kickers in your theater room. Is that correct?
Yep. Yep, I do.
So I'm going to put this on the screen, and you kind of talk about what is a butt kicker, how do you implement that, and again, this is going to be kind of on the most expensive. Well, not most expensive because there's
Mm,
Croson. Croson's another one.
depends on the route you go. I mean, buying butt kickers can be expensive,
Yeah.
but they're tremendously powerful,
Well,
and the
at
LFE
three
is
hundred
quite
dollars.
expensive.
Well, here's a prime example. You're talking $300. Well, get rid of that thing. You're talking three
Well,
hundred
for the
dollars for
LFE, you don't
one.
necessarily need the LFE. You could do the
Okay.
advanced, or you could
All right.
do
So
the
let's
smaller
go
one. So let's bring
to
up the advanced.
probably home or cinema. I don't
Cinema.
know. I don't know what the difference would be. Let's
Uh,
see. Really? That's kind of whacked. I
just do a
want to do.
search for. Go to
Oh, here we
shop.
go. Shop.
Go to
That's
shop.
what it is. There we go. And let's look
There it
for
is. The
the
advanced.
advanced. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So this is $200 per
Yep.
chair,
Mm-hmm.
and you need an amplifier to power it.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of tell us what does a butt kicker do?
A butt kicker, effectively, at its most basic level, is a piston suspended in grease in a sleeve. And all it does, it's a weighted piston, it moves up and down, right? I demonstrate, but people are going to go, their minds are going to go to the gutter, so I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Really, what it's meant to do is to give you the ultra low frequencies without the need for SPL. It's really what it's designed to do. You get the shake without the volume. So you don't need tremendous amounts of output, enormous 18-inch subs with huge cabinets or 21, 24-inch drivers, all that stuff. You're able to do this
Yeah.
by using the shake from the piston from an amplifier, and it's going to take that audio signal and transcribe it into shake is really what they're designed to do. So ideally, you'd want at least one of these per seat, and that's really all you do need.
Oh, you're not
I
seeing that.
took that to an extreme. I have 9 on my couch. That's mainly because I could and not because I should. But if you turn these things up, I mean, they would rip your couch
There we
apart.
go. Okay.
They're
This is what I want to show you. Kind of
they're
how they're
insanely
installed.
powerful. They don't have to necessarily have that bracket system. That's on there to increase shake because you put them out further on an arm and you get more movement from what I understand. Mine are all directly attached. But it's kind of cheating the system in that you don't have to have the output in order to get the shake. So it's just another way to be able to get that tactile feel without needing to pressurize your room.
Yeah. So the cool thing about this is I think there's some benefits of that. So let's say and here's a prime example. I went to a gentleman's home theater. He lives in an apartment. He's a single guy, so doesn't have to worry about pleasing, the wife and making it look really cool. but he had a projection screen set up. He's got a JVC NX5, and he lives in an apartment. There's no way that he can have big, massive subwoofers. There's no way that he can have even dual 10-inch or dual 12-inch or a 15-inch. And so what he's done is he has a small subwoofer so that he can hear the bass, but then under his couch, he has some tactile transducers. And so the good thing about that is they don't really make noise. I mean, you know what I'm
They
saying?
can make noise.
Yeah, but I mean, they're not like us. I don't think they're like a subwoofer. You know what I
No,
mean?
no.
And so they're not going to rattle everybody else's house. And so I think that's one way that you can get it. You can have a lower volume
Mm-hmm.
and have these to where they're vibrating your chair so that you get that tactile response. You feel it. Um, and I'm going to pull up a couple other options. There is
You got
I
ore
think,
shakers,
Parts Express.
Crosend.
So
Parts Express is a good place to look
I'm
for
going to
them.
show you a real super budget friendly one. This is, let's see, tactile transducer.
The
Okay.
main difference in a lot of these, though, is going to be the amount of shake that they deliver, and there is quite a bit of difference depending
Yeah.
on their wattage
It's one of
capabilities
the
and
things you're
stuff.
going to get what you pay for, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're like, man, I just want to feel it more, but you don't have, all right, here we go. So here's a prime example. I don't know if these are any good. I just know that there are some guys out there that use them. Let me close a couple of these tabs so that I can easily get this up on the screen. So if you're looking at tactile transducers, something similar to this. All right, these are $30 a piece. Okay. It's not a huge tactile transducer, and they probably sell different ones. So check their website, do your research, look at these reviews, see if a lot of people are saying, hey, this is a good buy or they're okay. But I mean, $30 a piece compared to $200 a piece, that's a big difference. And so if your budget doesn't allow, if you don't have the ability to add more subwoofers or bigger subwoofers, tactile transducers might be a way to go. And then on the other end of the
I'll be right
extreme,
back.
yeah, go ahead. On the other end of the extreme, I'm gonna look at this Prosen tactile transducer. Okay, so Crosens are pretty expensive. I don't know exactly what they cost, but I'm gonna pull this up. Let me share my screen here. Ooh. And then let's add. I got my camera right in. One day I'll get a better setup, but now we're good. So Croson, here's their website. So they have some tactile, what they call actuators, or if you want to buy the complete system, which would be the actuator and the amplifier. So these are kind of interesting. Look here. So now you're getting into some high end. So we're talking $2,000,
Yeah, the
30,
Crosens are more expensive for
3,200.
sure.
Yeah. But in essence, it's very similar. So you can see you've got an amplifier that's going to power them.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is what they have. So your seats, like your chair legs, would sit on top of this. Is that correct, Ryan?
Mm-hmm. Yep, they sit on top of it.
So you're going to place it. So I'm assuming like with this one, it only comes with two. Oh, and then that screws in maybe to the other two.
Yeah, you don't put them necessarily on all of the feet. You would put them on two of the feet, and then the
I
other
got
two
you.
are in isolators, and
I
that
got
gives
you.
you enough of the shake.
That makes sense. So these back little spikes right here would go under, say, your, I don't know, the front feet. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
which one you're supposed to put them on,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe you put those on the front feet, and then you put these big squares on the back feet, plug those into this amplifier here, and then that is going to cause, a good vibration. I've experienced Crosons. They're pretty incredible, but again, that's on the other extreme. So one thing I like doing on my channel is just giving you information, and you figure out what works for you, your setup, your budget. And so you can go with something as cheap as Parts Express. You
Mm-hmm.
go with something kind of in the middle, like the Butt Kickers Advanced. You can go to the Butt Kicker LFE if you want to rip your chairs apart, or you can add 9 of them like Ryan did absurdly in his couch, and just dial them down. That's a pretty good way to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you want to go to the real high end extreme, Croson is a way to go as well. Techno Dad's in the house as well. Good to see you, brother. He says just 10 speakers today. So did he buy them, or was that in reference to somebody else's comment? I haven't seen.
Did you? This is a total change of topic.
Oh,
But
here we
did
go.
you
So
see
this,
Reggie Burris?
I did not. So I was talking and I'm not good. And I was looking
There you
up
go.
those. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I did not see that. Appreciate that. Let me see. I was trying to find. Oh, here we go. Oh, wow. That was way back there. I must have been talking quite a while.
You were.
So, Reggie, appreciate the super chat, $20, 19.99. I use quad subs in my main two listening areas. Eliminated the nulls. So remember we were talking about that's where you get a lack of bass in that frequency response. So by adding multiple subwoofers, 4 of them in his case, he was able to eliminate the nulls that he used to have, and now he's got clean, prodigious bass. I love that word.
That's a
One,
great word.
he says, one day I'll hook up my mini DSP, but I've been too lazy. Thanks, guys. The mini DSP, like I said, it definitely takes some learning. There's a learning curve there. The good thing too is if you don't want to deal with it, there are definitely some guys out there that are even willing. You pay them some money and they can dial into your system. They'll use like Team Viewer, log into your computer. They can run the sweeps with REW. They can adjust. I had a friend of mine do that with my setup because I know how to do it, but he's so much more knowledgeable in that area. And he was able to dial it in a whole lot better than I was. Um, so definitely there's some resources out there, or you can just spend some time diving in. That's part of what this hobby is about, is learning and growing our knowledge and experience, tweaking our setup so we can get the best performance out of our systems as we possibly can. And so Reggie, sounds like you've got a great sound there. And you might find with the mini DSP and the using REW and a UMIC 1 or something like that, you'll be able to see physically, am I getting a smooth response in all frequencies? Because maybe you've got great response in 30, 40, 50 hertz, 60 hertz, but maybe it's that 20 hertz that you got to dip in. And so you might be able to fix some of that with the mini DSP. So definitely appreciate the super chat there. Always love and appreciate your support, man. You've always been just such an encouragement to me and the channel. So definitely appreciate that.
I think Andrew Robinson's got an interesting question for you.
Okay. Youth man. Okay.
In
Go
your
ahead.
opinion, please no name and shame, but how many theaters or enthusiasts who partake in your home theater crawls put an emphasis on bass to the point where maybe it's too much?
Yeah. Okay. Great question. So there are some people, and I'm not definitely going to name any names. And honestly, they know who they are because they love that. So some people will absolutely, they've got an enormous amount of bass and they have the potential to just rock your teeth. I mean, yeah, I won't mention his name, but he knows who it is and he loves it. And I love it. It's a fun experience. But the cool thing is when he's listening to it normal, it's not like that at all, you know. But he has the ability, he can easily just adjust some settings. And I mean, like literally, but I always wear earplugs and something like that. Here's what I try to tell people. The only time that you should notice your subwoofers is when you turn them off. And here's why I say that. I prefer to have my system to where it's a cohesive system, to where you've got good, solid clarity in your mid range and in your high frequencies, but you've got smooth bottom end extension. You know, in my case,
That's a good way to look at it.
I'm getting down to like 5 hertz in my room. But what I try to do in my DSP, now I like a little bit of boosted in the bass. It's not over the top. I think I'm about 6 dB hot, what they consider that. I know guys that run 12 dB hot. So I like a little bit boost in the bottom end, but I don't ever want to be watching a movie and my brain is focused on the bass. I want to be focused on the experience. I want what I've created in my room, whether it's the Atmos effects, whether it's my surround sound speakers, or whether it's the LFE, the low frequency extension. I want all that to work together cohesively to where it's dialed in, what I call it, so that it's an experience together, not that you're going, oh, wow, that was cool, or oh, man, that sounded cool. Because as soon as you do that, you've lost that experience. It's pulled you out of the movie. It's pulled you out of that 2-channel experience. But when you're just listening to it and it's like this own entity, to me, that's where you just kind of hit that audio nirvana.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I try to achieve. But definitely there's some guys out there. So prime example, the gentleman that had those 424s, you're thinking, man, who needs 424s? Guys, you got to realize he has a huge room. I mean, massive room. I mean, this room has 16 theater seats. No, I'm sorry, 12. I think it was 12 or 13.
Changes every time.
I don't know. I don't remember, man. I think it was 13 if I think back. But anyway, so he's got a huge room. He's got a 206-inch diagonal screen. I mean, this thing is a monster. So he has to have a lot of subwoofers and big subwoofers. But it was not at any point, I did not listen to that experience and go, oh man, that's too much bass. Why? Now, I guarantee you, he could have dialed that system in and adjusted it to where those subwoofers just rattled my teeth. I guarantee it. They're that capable. But the reality is he was able to dial in and calibrate his system so that it's working cohesively. His was one literally of the best home theaters I've experienced during my tours. But definitely there's some guys out there that they put an emphasis on the bass and it's pretty evident. And that's kind of it can take you out of that experience. I have had that during some of the tours, and that's okay. I don't try to tell them how to set up their theater. And the cool thing is most of those guys, especially in Kansas and Wisconsin, Illinois, they're going to each other's house all the time. And so they're getting feedback from each other. They're learning together. They're tweaking their systems together. And one guy, it was kind of funny. He said, no, I don't normally listen to it like this, but, and then he proceeds to play it. It was like, oh my gosh. Put it this way. I listened to it for just a couple of minutes, probably not even a couple minutes. It might've been a minute. And I'm like, I reached in my pocket, grabbed my earplugs and I put them in. I'm like, this is way insane. And it was cool. It was fun, but yeah, it's a bit much. And so definitely, I think you can overdo anything. It's kind of that too much of a good thing isn't a good thing, you know? So, to me, it's a lot has to do with integration, learning how to dial in your system, allowing those pieces to work together instead of competing against each other. And that's really where you're going to, and like I said, there's some great channels out there that can teach you this stuff. I don't ever try to come across as the guru. I'm one of you guys. I really am. I'm just a home theater enthusiast. I go up to Kansas and these guys are like on a whole new level, but I'm learning from them. And I love that. And if you come to M-Wave, you're going to get a chance to hang out with some of these guys like Ryan that know and have just great knowledge. You're going to be able to talk
I'm just
with
flying
these.
by the seat of my pants all the time.
That's okay. It's all right. Fake it till you make it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Listen to me at your own risk, at your own peril.
Man, you have starred a bunch over here. So I'm going to hit them real quick. So RGA says, I've got zero bass, sadly. Man, hate that, bro. Picked
But
up
zero
a
bass,
70.
that's a subjective question. I mean, he could think he has zero bass, and we could walk in there and it's like World War III breaking out. I mean, it can be subjective.
Keith just got his Atmos going. I love Dolby Atmos. I really am. I'm a big fan. When done right, I think it's an incredible experience. It really, really is. I know, Andrew, you just actually installed Dolby Atmos in your setup and in his new home. He and Christy just moved and he's really, really enjoying it. So I love Dolby Atmos. I think it's a phenomenal, what do you call it? Not process, a phenomenal platform, not platform. What's the word for that?
What's the question?
Like Dolby Atmos is let's just call it a configuration, layout, format. There we go. That's what it is. So, Dolby Atmos is an incredible format when done right. And sadly, of course, there definitely are a lot of discs that they didn't do a good job at coding those. So that's pretty unfortunate.
A lot of those stars we had actually gone through already. We just hit them organically.
Okay, cool. Perfect, man. Just got a Marantz 8015. I love that. Drew, that is a phenomenal AVR. I reviewed that a couple years ago when it first came out. That thing is a beast, man. And unless your speakers are very, very inefficient, then more than likely you can get away with having a great sound just with that without having to add a dedicated amplifier. He says, anyone listen to multi-channel stereo on a 7.2.4? I don't do the, if you're talking about where you select it and it's doing stereo all the way around, I prefer not to listen that way, but that's just me. I'd rather listen into like,
I do that with
Neural
sports.
X. Do you?
Yeah. And like Formula One and stuff, it makes it more immersive because their broadcasts I think they're only stereo. A lot of TV I do that with.
Okay.
Not
that makes
shows,
sense.
but like sports and things of that nature. especially when you're trying to entertain, it reduces and removes bad
Yeah.
spots in the theater, and it allows everybody to hear what's going on. Plus,
Yeah.
it's really cool to feel like the sound is emitting from your head,
Yeah.
right? That's pretty cool. So I
Yeah.
do use it for that. And if you're
I
interested in that stuff, you should check out uh, iTunes and all of their surround formats for music.
True. Yeah. But isn't that going to now a lot of that's in Atmos right now, which is pretty
Atmos and
cool.
DTI.
Yeah. So to
Yeah.
me, again, I would rather use the Atmos or the DTS than a like multi-channel stereo. I've just never been a big fan of that for me. And sometimes I'll even switch it to like Oro 2D in my
hmm
setup. Or if you got an Oro setup, Oro 3D on music is phenomenal. I
It is
love
really
that.
cool,
I
especially when you
really,
change the power and everything of the.
yeah,
It's
they can
pretty
get a
cool.
really cool effect there and really enveloping on that. Kellen's in the house. Appreciate you, brother. He said, love these chats. Howdy, Ryan. Kellen's with Dream Media.
Hey, Kellen.
Kellen's got a killer home theater as well, man.
He just got
Um,
Valencia's.
yeah, nice. Super, super cool, man. Let's see what else we got. Any of you guys use Multi EQX? Okay, so Multi EQX is a new kind of an upgrade for those of you that have an Odyssey setup. And so I think what is it, about $200? It's like an add-on. Um, Now what I don't know, I haven't done a lot of research on that. I know Joe from Joe and Tell has he actually does a lot of calibration for people. So he's one of those guys that, he can dial into your setup and tweak it remotely. I haven't done that with Multi EQX, but it's an addition to all right, so think about this. With my setup, I ended up purchasing the Odyssey app on my phone. So it's like $20, and
I've heard it's well worth it though.
that allows you to do some really cool things. For me, it's a no-brainer because when I bring in new speakers, think about this. I have to rerun Odyssey, right? Or if I bring in a new subwoofer, I have to rerun Odyssey. Well, if I don't have the app, I can't save that. Okay. So what I do is I have my system calibrated and I save that on Odyssey on the app. Then what I do is I rerun Odyssey using the app, and I can save that as, let's say, Sonus Faber sends me some speakers, and I recalibrate. So I can name it Sonus Faber. And then when I'm done with the Sonus Faber, I ship them back to the company or I buy them or whatever. And then I can reload my settings. So that's where it benefits me. But there's also some things like you can turn on and off mid-range compensation. There's some different things you can adjust the curve in that. And so if you're kind of a tweaker, definitely it gives you way more flexibility in adjusting EQ.
Mm-hmm.
Taking that a big step further, like if you want more similar to maybe what Dirac can offer or Dirac, that's what the Multi EQX is. And so if you're interested in taking your Odyssey setup to the next level, definitely do some research on that. I haven't used that. But that would be one way that you could, again, you're using DSP, you're using digital signal processing, you're using equalization to be able to get the best frequency response you can for your setup, for your speakers, as well as your subwoofers. What else we got over here? Good questions, man. I appreciate the feedback. I'm loving the chat. I love hanging out with you guys, man. Here we go. Bill said, yes, it's definitely $200. Chana says $200. Joe calls them the magic beans, when he adjusts the settings. So, and Chana said he does full manual. So it's not like he just runs the auto. I think Joe dialed into his system, got it set up. Oh, there you go. So Kellen said he's going to add the Crosons to the Valencia. That, man, Crosons are pretty rad. It's definitely pricey, but they're pretty amazing. Absolutely. Oh yeah. So this would be a prime example right here. Nick says, imagine when the car cranks up in the Batman and you got that low rumble. Oh man. Heck yeah. So when
I
your
still haven't
chairs are,
seen that movie.
honestly, I didn't care for it, but that's just
Yeah.
me. It's more of a detective kind of movie. I love the kind of the typical Marvel style movie, your
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man, your Iron Man, the Avengers, that kind of thing. And so I went into it. I didn't have any preconceived ideas. I didn't know what it was going to be. So I went into it kind of expecting like a Dark Knight kind of thing. And
Mhm.
it's definitely not that. Something totally different. It goes a different direction. It's a cool movie, but like even when they fire up the Batmobile, I mean, it's an old, like, I don't know what kind of car it was. Maybe a Charger. You guys can shoot me in the comments if I'm wrong, but um, I'm like, that's not the Batmobile. The Batmobile is supposed to be this cool, like sci-fi thing with like missiles. That car was just,
Missiles.
yeah. I mean, literally, right? Shoots out bullets and
The tumbler. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, that thing's rad. But to have just a souped up muscle car, it didn't have the same like effect to me.
Mhm.
So, but you may like it. I don't know. Cool, man. So Bill said he's got Valencia seats. They're definitely some great seats. Let's see. I have the Paul says, Youth Man, I have the AV 8802. So that is a really high end. I believe that's the processor, correct?
Mhm.
8805. I'm sorry. So let me go. No. Where am I
8802
seeing?
was
Okay, so that was
before the
before. Okay,
8805, if I
I
remember
got you.
right.
Okay, so I have the 8802, but have been wanting IMAX Enhanced. Is it worth the upgrade? Also, uh, is it worth upgrading to the 8805?
Mm,
Here's what I always tell people. Is it worth it is so subjective. It really, really is. I never try to tell somebody, oh yeah, it's worth you spending your hard earned money to pay this much extra, whether it's on this amplifier, this speaker, this processor. Man, that's so hard to say.
I would say no,
You know,
but that's my subjective answer.
a
There's
lot
not
of
enough
time.
there's not enough IMAX enhanced content to be able to
Yeah.
make that jump worth it.
Yeah. I
If
wouldn't do it just for that. Yeah.
no. If you're happy with the
Yeah.
8802, there's no reason to jump for
Yeah.
IMAX. Now, if you were on something and didn't have DTSX or Atmos, then
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But in this case, if you were just trying to get something that had Oro
Hmm.
or IMAX, there's
Yeah.
not enough content to
Yeah.
warrant that jump.
Yeah. And a lot of times, I don't know how many years are in between the 8802 and the 8805 or how many series is in between there. Maybe it was 8802 and then it went straight to 8805. If that's the case, there's probably not a massive difference in those two processors. If it's been 5 years, 8 years, 10 years, yeah, there's going to be some processing differences there. Again, I'm just not familiar with that model to know the differences. But if you're just looking at it, should I upgrade and spend the extra money for IMAX Enhanced? I'm with Ryan. I don't think that's going to be
So
a
I think
huge
the
value there.
8802 came out in 2005 and the
Okay.
8805 came out in 2018.
Okay, that's quite a bit. I'd be curious to see, does the 8802 do like Atmos? Does
I
it
think so.
do? I mean, that's a long time ago though. Did we even have Atmos that back far? I don't know when Atmos came out. What year? What year did you say that was? 2000.
Yeah, it has Atmos and
Okay. Okay.
DTSX.
Okay. So
It's
at least
fine.
it's got the newest codec, so that's
His
great.
other problem is it doesn't have the number of channels that the 8805 has, so
Okay.
it's just a not as capable version. That's
Sure.
really what it comes
Yeah.
down to. And I don't know that it's capable of the new Odyssey stuff. Don't
Hmm.
quote me on that
Yeah.
because I don't
Gotcha.
know.
Okay.
But if you're
Oh
just
yeah, to be able to integrate the multi EQX.
yeah, if
Yeah.
you're just
Gotcha.
upgrading, chasing a format,
Yeah.
especially that one, I
Yeah.
would say no.
Yeah. So Martin says it's important that the $200 per user per AVR. So like if you sell that, that multi EQX doesn't
Hmm.
transfer, and that kind of stinks, man. I would like to
Money
see,
grab.
I would like to see them to be able to say, okay, I'm going to basically remove the serial number or the license from this AVR, sell it, buy my new one, add the license there. That man,
Hmm.
that just stinks. I hate to hear that. That's
Techno
crazy.
Dad says the 8805 is 13 or 15 channels, and the other one is 13. The
Okay.
8805 is 15 channels. It's
Okay.
13 bass, 2 subs, and then the 8802 is 11.2, so 11
Nice.
bass channels and
Oh,
2
mercy.
subs.
Look what Paul says. He has got them all laid out. 8802, 8802A, 8805, and 8805A. So more than likely, like when they go to the A, they add like a kind of some small tweaks and features to it.
And then you got everything Denon brings to the table.
True. True. Definitely very cool, man. thinking about the dark side of the moon. So that's now, did they have that in Atmos? I
I
wonder.
think so.
That'd be super
I think it
cool.
is. I
That's
think it
Pink
is.
Floyd, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
But guys, as we wrap up here, if you have any suggestions for other topics that we
Yeah,
cover,
dude.
I'm always interested to see what you guys want to see
Absolutely, man.
happen. What were we going to talk about today? It was what to buy and when to buy it.
Yeah.
But we flipped over to talk about
Yeah.
low frequency.
Yeah.
So if you have
That's
any suggestions,
yeah,
post in the
definitely.
chat.
Yeah, just leave them in the best thing to do is leave them in the comments because I don't basically in order to see these we'd have to come
You have
back
to
through
watch the
and
chat.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so but yeah, man. So hopefully my desire is that you get to experience tactile bass in your setup.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't feel it in your chest, if you don't feel it in your legs, there's definitely some not typical. There's definitely some tips that you can apply to your setup, whether you're adding multiple speakers, bigger subwoofers, DSP. You can do near field subwoofers. You can do tactile transducers. There's a lot of ways that you can get better bass response and more tactile response in your setup. Because once you get it, dude, I'm telling you, man, it takes your movie watching experience to a
It
whole new
does.
level. It's one thing to hear bass, it's another thing to feel bass, and it's
Mm-hmm.
incredible, man.
It definitely makes
Absolutely
it feel
incredible.
more realistic.
Yeah, for sure. Well, guys, I love and appreciate all you. Thank you so much for all the super chats. If you are wanting to come out and hang out with us, July the 22nd through the 24th, we still have tickets in the general admission. So we'd love to have you come out. I think we have 2 gold tickets left, and all the platinum
Mm-hmm.
and all the regular VIPs have sold out. But there's a few of those. If you're interested in that, you can head over to the website, midwestavexperience.com. We'd love to have you out in July. I'm going to be going up to Cedia this year. So if you're going to Cedia, hit me up, man. I'd love to meet up with you and at least say hi to you. Probably the easiest way is just shoot me an email at send it to, I got so many. I've got like Youth Man Reviews. I've got Home Theater Tours. I've got M-Wave. Send it to my Michael at youthmanreviews.com. Just let me know, hey, Youth Man, I'm heading up to the CD as well. I'd love to meet up with you, man. And I'd love to kind of hang out with you guys. But I'm looking forward to M-Wave. I think it's going to be an incredible experience. We're going to have a blast. Ryan, as always, man, I appreciate you hanging out with us,
Mm-hmm. Of
dropping some
course.
knowledge. You guys were awesome. Asked some great questions.
And I'm going to throw in this little anecdote too. If anybody is in need of gear, Michael and I have partnered together to try and bring you guys gear at the best prices we can to try and share in the best AV experiences we can. So if you guys are in need of anything, shoot Michael or I an email or a message or give us a call, and happy to help you out.
Sure thing. Last closing thought here, Rafael, man, all the way from Brazil, brother. Thank you so much, man, for saying hi. Appreciate you watching the channel, enjoying. I love connecting with home theater and audio enthusiasts and video enthusiasts around the world, man. That is one of the biggest blessings to me. I mean, yeah, playing with gear is fun. Doing these home theater tours is really fun for you guys.
Sharing the experience.
But I love, love, love the interactions that we have. Even like tonight, you guys are asking great questions. You're providing value, and we're learning from each other. And I think that's really the best part of this hobby is really the relationships that we kind of garner from that.
Mm-hmm.
So 1:33 a.m. Man, get some rest. We're going to wrap it up here. Hope you guys have an incredible week. We'll catch you next Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 p.m. Pacific. You guys have a blessed week. We'll catch you in the next video.